The thing about 10-year anniversaries is they're like root canals. Everyone tells you they're important, but nobody wants to go through with them. I'm standing in Murphy's Craft Brewery, watching my wife Julia work the room like she's running for mayor, and I can't shake the feeling that something's rotten in Denmark. Or in this case, rotten in Millbrook, Massachusetts. "Tommy!" Rick Banner slaps my back hard enough to make me spill my IPA. "Can you believe it's been 10 years? Feels like yesterday I was your best man." Rick's been my best friend since we were kids, but lately, something about him makes my skin crawl. Maybe it's the way he looks at Julia when he thinks I'm not watching. Maybe it's how he always seems to know things about my marriage that I don't. "Yeah, Rick, time flies." I take a long sip of beer and study his face. He's got that golden boy thing going, the kind of guy who peaked in high school but somehow convinced the world he never stopped climbing. Julia glides over in her black dress, the one that cost more than my truck payment. "Having fun, boys?" "Always when I'm with my two favorite people," Rick says, and I swear his hand lingers too long when he touches her arm. My phone buzzes. Text message from Julia. "Check your email. Important." I frown at her, but she's already turned away, laughing at something Rick said. I step outside into the October air and pull up my email. There's a message from Julia sent 20 minutes ago with an audio attachment. The subject line reads, "You need to hear this." I plug in my earbuds and hit play. It's Julia's voice, crystal clear. "Rick, we can't keep doing this. Tom's getting suspicious." Then, Rick's voice. "Let him suspect. He's too much of a coward to do anything about it anyway. That's not fair. He's a good man." Good men finish last, Jules. You know that better than anyone. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The recording continues for 3 more minutes. 3 minutes of my wife and best friend discussing their affair like they're planning a grocery run. Clinical, casual, like I'm some obstacle they need to navigate around. I stand there in the parking lot, watching my breath form clouds in the cold air, and something shifts inside me. Not anger, not yet. Something colder, more calculating. I walk back inside and find them standing by the bar, heads close together. Julia sees me coming and steps away from Rick, but it's too late. I've seen enough. "Everything okay?" she asks. "Perfect." I raise my beer. "Actually, I'd like to make a toast." The room quiets down. About 30 people, friends, family, co-workers, all turn to look at me. Julia's face goes pale. "To my beautiful wife Julia, and to my oldest friend Rick." I pause, letting the moment stretch. To 10 wonderful years of marriage, and to all the surprises still to come. Everyone cheers and drinks. Rick grins and clinks his glass against mine. Julia forces a smile, but her hand shakes slightly. "Cheers, buddy," Rick says. "Here's to the next 10 years. "Oh, Rick," I say, taking another sip. "I have a feeling the next few weeks are going to be very interesting indeed." Monday morning hits like a slap. I'm at my desk at Millbrook Construction Management, staring at blueprints for a strip mall renovation, but my mind keeps drifting to that recording. I've listened to it maybe 20 times since Saturday night, each playback revealing new details I missed before. The way Rick calls her Jules, nobody else calls her that. How Julia mentions they've been careful, meaning this has been going on for a while. Rick's comment about me being a coward stings the most because part of me wonders if he's right. The old me would have confronted them directly, probably made a scene, definitely made things worse. But I'm not the old me anymore. My phone rings. Tom Rourke. "Tommy, it's Rick. Want to grab lunch today? Haven't seen you since the party." "Sure, how about Flanagan's Steakhouse, 1 o'clock? "Sounds good, my treat." Of course it's his treat. Rick makes twice what I do selling insurance, and he never lets me forget it. But today I don't mind. Today I have plans. I spend the morning making preparations. First, I call Flanagan's and speak to Danny Murphy, the manager. Danny and I went to high school together, and he owes me a favor from when I helped him renovate his kitchen. I need you to play something over the sound system during lunch today, I tell him. Just for a few minutes. What kind of something? An audio file. I'll email it to you. Play it around 1:15 when the lunch crowd's at its peak. Danny hesitates. This isn't going to get me in trouble, is it? Nothing illegal, just some personal business I need to handle. All right, Tommy, but you owe me after this. Next, I text Tara Williams, Rick's fiancée. We've been friends since Rick started dating her 2 years ago. She's sweet, smart, and deserves better than what she's getting. Hey, Tara, want to join Rick and me for lunch at Flanagan's? 1 o'clock. My treat. She responds immediately. That sounds great. Rick's been acting weird lately. Maybe you can cheer him up. Poor Tara. She has no idea what kind of mood Rick's going to be in after today. At 12:30, I drive to Flanagan's. It's packed, just like I hoped. Half the town eats lunch here on Mondays. Contractors, office workers, retirees with nothing better to do. Perfect audience. Rick and Tara are already seated when I arrive. Rick looks relaxed, confident. Tara seems nervous, picking at her salad. So, Tommy, Rick says after we order, Julia mentioned you seemed a little off at the party. Everything okay? I almost laugh. The audacity of this guy, asking about my marriage while he's busy wrecking it. Just work stress, I say. You know how it is. Actually, I don't. Insurance is pretty steady. Construction's always feast or famine, right? There it is, the subtle dig. Rick's specialty. He never insults you directly. He just makes observations that happen to highlight your shortcomings. Tara kicks him under the table. Rick, don't be rude. I'm not being rude. I'm being realistic. Tommy's a smart guy. He could do better than construction if he applied himself. I check my watch. 1:14. Almost showtime. You're right, Rick. I should apply myself more. In fact, I've been thinking about making some big changes in my life. The restaurant's background music stops abruptly. Then Julia's voice fills the dining room, clear as a bell. Rick, we can't keep doing this. Tom's getting suspicious. Every conversation in the place stops. Heads turn. Rick's face goes from confused to horrified in about 2 seconds. That's not fair. He's a good man. Julia's voice continues from the speakers. Tara drops her fork. Rick, what is this? Rick's voice comes next. Good men finish last, Jules. You know that better than anyone. The color drains from Rick's face. He looks around frantically, then at me. Tommy, I can explain. Explain what? Tara's voice is barely a whisper. Explain why you're having an affair with Tom's wife? The recording keeps playing. 3 minutes feels like 30 when you're watching your best friend's life implode in real time. People are pulling out their phones, recording everything. By tonight, this will be all over social media. When the audio finally stops, the restaurant is silent, except for the sound of Tara crying. Tara, please. Rick reaches for her, but she jerks away. Don't touch me. She stands up, grabs her purse. We're done, Rick. We're completely done. She storms out, leaving Rick sitting there with his mouth hanging open like a landed fish. I stand up, drop a 20 on the table. Lunch is on me after all. Tommy, wait. But I'm already walking away, and for the first time in months, I'm smiling. The fallout from Flanagan's spreads through Millbrook like wildfire. By Tuesday morning, everyone knows about Rick and Julia. The grocery store clerk gives me sympathetic looks. My barista at Coffee Corner offers me a free muffin for your troubles. Even my boss, Frank Morrison, pulls me aside. Tom, if you need some time off to handle your personal situation, I'm fine, Frank. Better than fine, actually. That's not entirely true. Julia didn't come home Monday night, and when she finally shows up Tuesday evening, she's got that look, the one that says she's about to make everything my fault somehow. We need to talk, she says, standing in our kitchen like she's visiting a crime scene. Do we? Because I think that recording covered most of the important points. She flinches. How could you do that to Rick, to Tara? They didn't deserve that humiliation. But I did. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Julia? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're more worried about your boyfriend's reputation than your husband's feelings. She sits down at our kitchen table, the one we bought together 5 years ago, back when we still pretended to be happy. It's not that simple. Sure it is. You've been cheating on me with my best friend. He thinks I'm a coward. You both thought you were smarter than me. How's that working out? Julia stares at her hands. What happens now? Now things get interesting. I don't tell her about the phone call I received that afternoon. Rick, desperate and angry, making threats he's too stupid to follow through on. But I recorded that conversation too, just in case. I also don't mention the envelope I found slipped under my office door. No return address, but the contents were enlightening. Copies of emails between Rick and my former boss at Hartwell Construction, the job I lost 6 months ago. Turns out Rick had been feeding him lies about my work quality, my reliability, my attitude. The betrayal goes deeper than just Julia. Rick's been sabotaging my life for years, and I was too trusting to see it. Wednesday brings new developments. I'm having coffee with my brother Danny when he drops the bomb. Rick's been spreading rumors about you embezzling money from projects. I nearly choke on my coffee. What? Started yesterday, after the restaurant thing. He's telling anyone who'll listen that you've been skimming from construction budgets. Says that's how you afforded Julia's expensive tastes. That's insane. Frank would never believe. My phone rings. Frank Morrison. Tom, I need you to come in early tomorrow. We need to discuss some financial discrepancies. My stomach drops. What kind of discrepancies? Just come in, 8 sharp. I hang up and look at Danny. Rick's trying to destroy my career. What are you going to do? I think about it for a moment. Rick wants to play dirty? Fine. I can play dirty too. That evening, I drive to Rick's apartment complex. He lives in Millbrook Heights, the fancy development on the north side of town. I park across the street and wait. At 9:30, Rick's BMW pulls into his designated spot. He looks terrible. Unshaven, wrinkled clothes, the kind of appearance that screams, life falling apart. Good. I wait until he's inside. Then I make my move. Not to his apartment. I'm not stupid enough to trespass. Instead, I walk to the complex's community mailbox area, where residents often post notices and announcements. I tape up a simple flyer. Attention residents. Rick Banner in Unit 3B has been harassing married women in the complex. Please report any inappropriate behavior to management. It's not exactly true, but it's not exactly false either. And in a place like Millbrook Heights, reputation is everything. Thursday morning's meeting with Frank goes better than expected. I bring documentation of every project I've worked on, every expense report, every receipt. Frank reviews everything and shakes his head. I'm sorry, Tom. Someone called in an anonymous tip, but there's clearly nothing here. Your books are cleaner than a whistle. Any idea who made the call? Frank hesitates. Male voice. Claimed to be a concerned citizen. I nod grimly. Thanks for checking it out properly instead of just firing me. You're one of my best project managers. It would take more than an anonymous phone call to make me doubt you. I leave Frank's office feeling vindicated, but not satisfied. Rick tried to destroy my livelihood, and he nearly succeeded. Time to return the favor. That afternoon, I get a text from an unknown number. He's not done. Watch your back. T. Tara. She must have heard something. Maybe Rick planning his next move. I text back. Thanks for the warning. Her response comes quickly. He's lost his mind. Talking about revenge, making you pay. Be careful, Tom. I smile as I read her message. Rick thinks he's playing chess, but he's actually playing checkers. And I'm about to show him the difference. 3 weeks later, I'm standing outside St. Mary's Catholic Church, adjusting my tie and checking my watch. Rick and Tara's wedding was supposed to be called off after the restaurant incident, but apparently, Rick's powers of persuasion are stronger than I gave him credit for. Or maybe Tara's just more forgiving than she should be. Either way, I received an invitation 2 days ago, hand-delivered to my office by Rick himself. "I know things got ugly," he said, "but we've been friends for 25 years. I want you there as my best man." The audacity was breathtaking. The man who's been sleeping with my wife, who tried to get me fired, who's been systematically undermining my life for years, wants me to stand beside him at his wedding. Of course I said yes. The church is packed. Rick's family, Tara's family, half of Millbrook's social scene. I recognize faces from the country club, the Chamber of Commerce, the kind of people who matter in a town like this. Perfect audience for what I have planned. I take my place at the altar next to Rick, who looks nervous but confident. He's probably thinking he won, kept his fiancée, kept his reputation mostly intact, and even managed to get his betrayed best friend to play along. Poor Rick, he has no idea what's coming. The ceremony goes smoothly until we reach the part where Father McKenna asks if anyone objects to the union. The church falls silent, and I can feel everyone holding their breath. I don't say anything. That would be too obvious, too dramatic. Instead, I wait for my moment. It comes during the reception, held in the church's fellowship hall. 200 guests, open bar, live band, the works. Rick spared no expense, probably trying to prove something to himself and everyone else. When it's time for the best man's speech, I walk to the microphone with my phone in my pocket and a smile on my face. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here to celebrate Rick and Tara's special day." I pause, looking out at the sea of faces. I've known Rick since we were kids, and I can honestly say he's one of the most determined people I've ever met. When Rick wants something, he doesn't let anything or anyone stand in his way. Polite laughter from the crowd. Rick beams at me from the head table. In fact, Rick's so determined that he once told me, "Good men finish last, and I'm tired of finishing last." Those were his exact words. The laughter dies down. A few people shift uncomfortably in their seats. Rick believes that if you want something badly enough, you should just take it, even if it belongs to someone else, even if that someone else is supposed to be your best friend. Now the room is completely quiet. Rick's smile falters. I pull out my phone and connect it to the sound system. "I thought you might like to hear Rick explain his philosophy in his own words." I hit play, and Rick's voice fills the fellowship hall. "Good men finish last, Jules. You know that better than anyone." The reaction is immediate and devastating. Gasps from the crowd, Tara's hand flying to her mouth, Rick's face going white as a sheet. But I'm not done. The recording continues, and with each word, Rick's world crumbles a little more. His mother starts crying. Tara's father stands up, his face red with anger. Wedding guests pull out their phones, recording everything. When the audio finally ends, the silence is deafening. Rick stands up slowly, his hands shaking. "Tommy, please." "Please what, Rick? Please keep pretending we're friends? Please keep letting you sabotage my life while you sleep with my wife?" Tara is sobbing now, her wedding dress stained with tears and mascara. Her bridesmaids surround her, shooting daggers at Rick with their eyes. Rick's best man, his cousin Mike, grabs him by the arm. "We need to get you out of here." But Rick shakes him off. Instead, he walks toward me, and I can see something dangerous in his eyes. "You ruined everything," he says, his voice barely controlled. "My wedding, my reputation, my life. You ruined it all." "No, Rick. You did that yourself. I just made sure everyone else knew about it." He swings at me then, a wild haymaker that I see coming from a mile away. I duck, and his momentum carries him forward. He stumbles, crashes into the wedding cake, and goes down hard. The crowd erupts. Some people are laughing, others are shouting, most are just staring in shock. Rick struggles to his feet, covered in white frosting and pink roses, looking like a demented clown. "This isn't over," he snarls at me. I lean in close, so only he can hear. "Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet." Security, 2 off-duty cops working the wedding, escort me out, but not before I catch Tara's eye. She stopped crying and is staring at Rick with something that might be hatred. As I walk to my car, I can hear the chaos continuing behind me. Shouting, crying, the sound of chairs being overturned. Rick's perfect wedding has become a disaster that people will talk about for years. And I'm just getting started. By Monday morning, Rick Banner's wedding disaster is the most watched video on Millbrook's Facebook community page. Someone, probably multiple someones, recorded the whole thing, from my speech to Rick's face plant into the cake. The video has been shared 300 times and counting. The comments are brutal. Always knew there was something off about Rick Banner. Poor Tara, she deserves so much better. Tom Rourke is a legend. Wish I had the guts to do something like that. I'm reading through them at my desk when my phone rings. Unknown number. Tom Rourke. "This is Detective Ray Sullivan with Millbrook PD. I need to speak with you about the incident at St. Mary's on Saturday." My stomach tightens. "What about it?" "Rick Banner filed a complaint. Says you assaulted him." "I never touched him. He swung at me and fell into his own wedding cake. There's video evidence." "I've seen the video. That's why I'm calling instead of asking you to come down to the station. But I need to ask, did you plan this whole thing?" I consider my answer carefully. "I planned to give a speech at my friend's wedding. Everything else was just Rick being Rick." Sullivan chuckles. "Well, whatever you planned or didn't plan, it's made you something of a local celebrity. Half the town thinks you're a hero, the other half thinks you're crazy. What do you think?" "I think Rick Banner had it coming, but Tom, be careful. Desperate men do desperate things." After I hang up, I spend some time researching Rick's insurance agency online. Banner and Associates has been struggling lately. Bad reviews, complaints about pushy sales tactics, whispers about questionable claims handling. I create a fake email account and start reaching out to Rick's dissatisfied customers, asking them to share their stories on review sites. Within hours, Rick's business rating drops from 3 stars to 1.5. But that's just the appetizer. Tuesday evening, I drive to Rick's apartment complex with a cooler full of supplies. The flyer I posted last week has been taken down, but I have something better planned. Rick's BMW is in its usual spot. I wait until after midnight, then get to work. First, I place a small container of fish scraps under his car's air intake vent. In a few days, when the smell really develops, his car will be unbearable to drive. Next, I use washable paint to write "Home Wrecker" across his windshield. Nothing permanent, nothing that can't be cleaned off, but embarrassing enough to make a point. Finally, I leave a small gift on his doorstep. A framed photo of him and Julia that I found in her purse, along with a note that reads, "Thanks for being such a good friend. Tom." I'm back home by 2 a.m., feeling more satisfied than I have in months. Wednesday brings news that Rick has called in sick to work for the 3rd day running. His secretary, a chatty woman named Linda who goes to my church, mentions it during coffee hour. "Poor Rick's been having such a hard time since his wedding," she says, not realizing she's talking to the cause of his problems. "Keeps getting strange phone calls, people driving by his apartment at all hours. I think the stress is getting to him." I nod sympathetically. That's terrible. I hope things get better for him soon. Thursday afternoon, I'm reviewing construction plans when Julia shows up at my office. She looks exhausted, older somehow, like the stress of the past month has aged her 5 years. "We need to talk," she says. "About what?" "About ending this. All of it. The revenge, the public humiliation, the games. It needs to stop." I lean back in my chair, studying her face. Does it? Rick's falling apart. He's been calling me constantly, crying, talking about leaving town. His business is collapsing, his reputation is ruined, and now Tara won't even speak to him. Sounds like consequences. This isn't justice, Tom. This is cruelty. I stand up and walk to my office window, looking out at the construction site below. Men in hard hats working with their hands, building something useful, something that will last. You know what's cruel, Julia? Betraying someone who trusted you, lying to their face every day while you plan your next secret meeting, making them feel crazy for suspecting what they know in their hearts is true. I never meant for it to happen. But it did happen, and you kept letting it happen. For months. She's crying now, but I don't feel the urge to comfort her like I used to. That instinct died somewhere between the restaurant recording and the wedding cake incident. What do you want from me? She asks. I want you to pack your things and move out. I want you to file for divorce and not ask for alimony. And I want you to stay away from me unless it's absolutely necessary. And if I do all that, you'll leave Rick alone? I turn away from the window to look at her. Rick made his own choices. He'll have to live with the consequences. Tom, please. The conversation's over, Julia. You should go. She leaves without another word, and I go back to my construction plans. But I can't concentrate because I keep thinking about what she said, that Rick's talking about leaving town. That would be the smart thing for him to do. Cut his losses, start over somewhere else, hope people eventually forget about the wedding video. But Rick's not that smart, and he's definitely not done trying to hurt me. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Your house, tomorrow night. We finish this. R. I smile as I read it. Rick wants a final confrontation? Fine by me. After all, I've been preparing for this moment for weeks. Friday evening arrives with a thunderstorm that seems appropriate for what's about to happen. I'm sitting in my living room watching rain streak down the windows when I see Rick's BMW pull into my driveway. He's not alone. Julia gets out of the passenger seat, followed by two other people I recognize, Mel Davidson, Julia's gossipy friend who probably helped coordinate their affair, and surprisingly, Tara Williams. I step onto my front porch as they approach. The whole neighborhood can see us. Porch lights are on, windows are glowing, and I spot Mrs. Chen from next door peeking through her curtains. Perfect. I've always believed that the best revenge is public revenge. Tom, Rick says, stopping at the bottom of my porch steps. He looks terrible, unshaven, hollow-eyed, wearing the same clothes he had on in yesterday's Facebook photos. We need to settle this. I thought we already did. At your wedding. That was just the beginning. Rick's voice has an edge to it that I've never heard before. You destroyed my life, my business, my reputation, my relationship, everything. You destroyed your own life, Rick. I just made sure people knew about it. Tara steps forward. She's been crying, but there's steel in her voice when she speaks. Tom, I know Rick made mistakes, but what you've been doing isn't right either. What I've been doing. The phone calls to his customers, the vandalism, the harassment, it needs to stop. I almost laugh. You think I've been harassing him? Rick's been sabotaging my life for years. He cost me jobs, spread rumors about me, and, oh yeah, he's been sleeping with my wife. That doesn't give you the right to destroy him, Julia says, doesn't it? Because from where I stand, it seems like perfect justice. The rain is getting heavier, and we're all getting soaked, but nobody moves. This feels like a moment that's been building for months, maybe years. Rick reaches into his jacket, and for a second, I tense up, but he just pulls out an envelope. I have something that might change your mind about continuing this war, he says, holding it up. What is it? Proof that your precious daughter isn't actually yours. The words hit me like a physical blow. What are you talking about? Emma, your 8-year-old daughter who lives with your ex-wife in California. I had a private investigator run a paternity test using DNA from her toothbrush during her last visit here. My vision goes red around the edges. You did what? The results are in this envelope. Want to guess what they say? I can barely speak through my rage. You had no right. I had every right. You want to play games? Let's play games. You back off, or everyone in town learns that Tom Rourke's been paying child support for another man's kid. The silence that follows is broken only by the sound of rain hitting the pavement. I can see neighbors gathering at their windows, watching the drama unfold. Then I start laughing. Rick looks confused. What's so funny? You are. You're so desperate to hurt me that you'd forge paternity test results. I didn't forge anything. Yes, you did. Because I know something you don't know, Rick. Something I learned when I was married to Emma's mother. I pull out my phone and show him a photo. This is Emma's birth certificate. Notice the date? Rick squints at the screen, and I watch his face change as he does the math. Emma was born 3 months premature, I continue. She spent her first 2 months in the NICU. The doctors ran every test imaginable, including genetic screening. I have copies of all the medical records, including the ones that confirm I'm her biological father. I take the envelope from Rick's shaking hands and tear it open. Inside are blank sheets of paper. You're not just a cheater and a liar, Rick. You're also a terrible bluffer. The fight goes out of him then. His shoulders slump, and he looks like a man who's finally realized he's beaten. But I'm not done yet. I walk to my garden hose, turn it on full blast, and spray all 4 of them. They scatter, slipping on the wet grass, shouting in surprise and anger. That's for 10 years of friendship, I yell over the sound of the water. That's for my marriage, my job prospects, and my peace of mind. Rick tries to run for his car, but he slips and falls face first into my flower bed. When he gets up, he's covered in mud and looking like the pathetic excuse for a man he really is. Tom, stop! Julia screams. Why? You never asked Rick to stop. You never asked him to stop pursuing you, stop lying to me, stop sabotaging my career. Why should I stop now? A police car pulls up, lights flashing. Detective Sullivan gets out, looking annoyed. What's going on here? Just watering my garden, detective, I say, turning off the hose. These folks were just leaving. Sullivan looks at the 4 soaked, muddy people on my lawn and shakes his head. Rick, I told you to stay away from Tom's house. He assaulted us, Rick sputters. With a garden hose? On his own property? Sullivan turns to me. Tom, I think it's time for everyone to go home. Agreed. As Rick and the others pile into his car, dripping and humiliated, I hear Mrs. Chen start slow clapping from her porch. Soon, other neighbors join in, applauding my performance. Rick's BMW won't start at first, probably because of the fish scraps I put in his air intake earlier this week. When it finally turns over, black smoke pours from the exhaust, and the smell is unbelievable. I watch them drive away, leaving puddles in my driveway and the satisfaction of total victory in my chest. Detective Sullivan walks over to me. You know this isn't over, right? Men like Rick don't give up easily. Yes, it is over, I say, looking at the envelope full of blank paper in my hand. Rick just doesn't realize it yet. But I know better. Rick Banner came to my house tonight thinking he had one last card to play, one final way to hurt me. Instead, he showed everyone, including himself, that he's got nothing left. The war is over, and I won. As I watch his taillights disappear into the storm, I smile and head back inside. Tomorrow, I'll start the process of rebuilding my life. Tonight, I'm going to enjoy the sweet taste of complete and total victory. After all, good men don't always finish last. Sometimes they finish exactly where they belong, on top.